Hello and welcome to Podcast Heroes. Thanks for listening. This is episode 13. Unlucky number 13.
Unlucky 13. We're delayed by 2 days on our podcast, and we're a member short.
It's a sad week. However, it's still going to be awesome.
It's going to be better than awesome.
We're breaking down, some Blackheart's Bay today?
Yes, we got Blackheart's Bay for our map stats. We got a fun free week, though it's still missing one champion that has been missing for almost 7 months now.
Look,
Blizzard, come on.
They're working on just kind of phasing him out of the game entirely.
Apparently, because it's just not fun. And then, of course, we got our usual Watch Us Climb segment. And it was a really good Watch Us Climb. Like, this is one of the most proud games I've had in the past week.
Yeah, it was
depression
fun.
In Hero League.
And it was a feat to overcome because Billy played Arthas. And nobody's been playing Arthas lately.
Arthas is wonderful.
He is pretty good when people synergize with him. It's worth noting Bentley is gone.
Yes.
He had to work, but he's working on a Leoric build. He bought him the day he came out. He loves playing him.
He does.
I picked up Jaina this week. Did you pick up anybody?
No, because I'm bad at this game.
Yeah, well, we knew that.
Yeah. We'll talk about that.
Speaking of being bad at this game, you might as well just not even register for the August Open.
Oh yeah, that's
because we're gonna win.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna win it. I think you guys need to find someone else to play for you because after dropping from rank 18 to rank 24,
what
in a 5-day period, I'm pretty much heartbroken right now.
It happens though.
It's terrible. It's terrible. So we're gonna have to start fixing that this weekend. What else do we got? So news-wise, like you said, Bentley got Leoric. He's been working on a build. Kind of an exciting champion to come out, though I think we have disagreeing views on his usefulness in the game. But we do have his abilities here, just to go over them real quickly for everybody in case you know nothing about him or you've played against him and you're wondering, what the hell does this do?
Sure, go over his passive really quick.
Yeah, so his passive, whenever he dies, instead of getting returned to the quintessential fountain, I think it's called a fountain in this game, you stay on the field as a ghost, and you can use your abilities on cooldown in order to lower your death timer. It doesn't do any damage to the enemy champions, but any form of CC that gets, is attributed, I believe it's only his Q that has a form of CC, is still applicable to enemy champions. So you can whack somebody with a Q, slow them down, and help your teammates escape, help your teammates catch up, whatever and ever. And then once your death timer runs out, and your bar fills up back the rest of the way, you spawn instantly on the field where your ghost was.
All right, let me break down Leoric's basic abilities.
Okay.
So his Q is Ghastly Swing. That's the slow we were talking about, 40% slow for 2.5 seconds. If you are alive and you're not in your undying state, it does 300, 110 plus 10 per level damage and slows enemies still by the 40%. Double damage to non-heroic sources.
Right, so like neutral monsters or lane minions.
Or bosses. That's important too. Drain Essence and Drain Hope, basically the same thing.
His W.
Right, his W. The Drain Essence works to build up your health while you're dead, and the faster that you get to full health, the faster you respawn.
Right.
Drain Hope steals max health.
Right.
And it slows Leoric by 20% while he casts it.
But it is worth noting, though, there is a talent that'll remove that slow. I believe it's in around the 14 range. I know it's post 10. But what the exact stats on it are, I believe it steals 25% of the enemy health, which is really important to note because there has been some notice by players out there, and I've seen this across some forums. Most notably, though, is the fact that 25% steal works on player-controlled monsters. So if somebody's in, the Terror from Garden of Terror, or if they're in the Dragon from Dragonshire, it'll do 25% of the health of that Terror or Dragon.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That can't be right.
It's true.
Can't be right.
It's true.
That's awesome.
It makes them really incredibly strong on those maps.
Speaking of super glitchy things, we've got a really awesome Zeratul glitch.
It's not a glitch, though. That is intentional.
Wow. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Alright. Wraithwalk
is his E.
Is Leoric's E. 50 mana, cooldown 14 seconds. You separate from your body, becoming unstoppable, but your body just kind of sits there. You gain 50% movement speed over 2 seconds, and then when it ends, or when you cancel it, your body jumps to that position. And so what I see people doing is, particularly early game, is, you run out, everybody meets in the middle, and then Leoric Wraith walks behind them, body blocks them, so they can't get back in their gate, and then they just get burst down.
And there is actually an ability that's also later on in the levels where Leoric can, if he casts the E and his body takes no damage during the duration of his Wraith Walk, it lowers the cooldown of the E to 4 seconds. So wow. A strategy you can actually do is like flank the enemy team in their lane or whatever, Wraith Walk out into the lane right behind them, and then reactivate your E, so you've taken no damage. You sit there, you deal some damage, hopefully kill him, and if not, your E is up pretty much 2 seconds afterwards, and you're able to Wraith Walk back away and out. So that's a really good thing.
I hadn't thought about that.
And then let's talk about his 2 ultimates really quickly. My favorite one is Entomb. I think that's probably the best one. It essentially activates a U-shaped... What would be the best way? Terrain, almost? Altercation?
It's just basically a rectangle where with one side open, and the side that's open is the side where you have to go through Leoric.
Right. Yeah, and it opens up directly to him. So it's a really good way to trap a team. It's not necessarily a form of CC, but it's a good way to help manage their movement.
Mm-hmm. The other one is March of the Black King. Leoric becomes unstoppable and swings his mace 3 times, healing himself 7.03% of his max health for each enemy hit, and dealing 400 damage. Now, when you watch the Champion Spotlight, which you should, about Leoric, you'll notice that he wrecks 6 champions. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it does a lot of damage.
But I've never seen that happen in a real game.
Well, and it's because it really depends on the enemy team being stupid enough to stand still, being stupid enough to be lined up, and being stupid enough not to leave.
Yeah.
It's very situational. I think a good gank, it pays off. I think having the control of Entomb is vastly better.
What if you could do Entomb and then March of the Black King into the Entomb?
That's probably why they're both ultimates and not abilities, because that would be way too strong.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to think of ways you could pull it off. Maybe Gazlo's suck-in ultimate. Muradin can only lock down 2 people at one time.
Well, I mean, you just got to have a really CC-heavy rest of the team.
Yeah, so it's really kind of trying to come up with a good way to control the rest of the team. We're still kind of theory crafting ourselves on a couple of different things. But what are your initial thoughts on Leoric?
I like him. I think he's really cool. I think it's kind of having a Brightwing effect, where, there was that week where everybody thought, oh my god, Brightwing is terrible now, because nobody knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. Nobody knows what they're doing with Leoric, but occasionally you get a good one and he destroys everyone.
I have to disagree. I think he's a relatively weak champion. I think he's more of a bruiser than he is a tank. I see too many people trying to play him like a tank, and he's nothing like a tank. He's not a, Muradin. He's not a, what's that one champion I play a lot? Johanna. He's none of those. He's a bruiser. So he's a lot like Sonya. He's a lot like Arthas. He's a lot like Stitches, Teriel. He's one of those guys. He's not someone you're going to, tank a whole team down with, but he's somebody who can be used as a solid second tank damage dealer. I think you have to have a good Leoric, because I see too many people thinking it's okay for me to charge into the middle of a fight, because if I die, my passive lets me stay active. And my thought on any video game ever is, if your strategy is, it's okay for me to die,
then you should play Uther.
You're gonna lose.
Yeah.
That's just, I mean, yeah.
There's rare situations where you're playing Uther where the best decision is for you to suicide.
And if you're able to beat Uther and be the first person to die on your team, that's a very good thing. That's what you want to do, because then you stay alive long enough to heal your team throughout the fight.
All of them back to 100%.
And they wasted all of their abilities on you. That's why I think, I know when we're playing together at least, or whenever I'm playing just alone, I always try to tell people, don't focus Uther. Leave him alive for last, because there's no point in killing him.
And he's a tank.
Well, that and he's a tank, yeah. He's very tanky, and his CC is rather limited. It's not like, he's a special stellar champion. It's better to get rid of your damage in that situation, unlike other supports where, a Rhaegar is very important to kill fast and so on and so forth.
Hey, speaking of damage, what do you think of Leoric's damage output? I haven't seen massive numbers.
I haven't either, and that's what concerns me. He's not like a Tyrael can deal a lot of damage. A good Sonya can deal a lot of damage. I think a good Leoric could be right up there number-wise. The problem is I haven't seen a good Leoric yet. Bentley's getting good at him, certainly, but I haven't seen anyone who can, play him to his true extent. And that's 100% because he's only been out for 48 hours.
I think I've played a little bit more with Bentley on Leoric, and he's done really well in a couple games. I've seen so many botched entombs, not necessarily from Bentley, but missed opportunities. Don't think that you need to catch, and the same goes for things like Nazeebo's Circle.
Right.
Don't think you need to catch them for it to be a successful use of that ult. If you block an area, it can be far stronger than capturing them.
Sometimes it's just as good to block somebody out as it is to block them in.
Can you use, regular abilities to get out of the entomb?
I think like Sylvanas can jump out of it, Muradin can jump out of Falstad, yeah.
So normal
the people who can jump over walls can jump over his entomb. So that's why you don't need to worry about entrapping
I would like
those
to
guys.
see a level 20 talent where it's like unbreakable tomb.
And it just blocks people from leaving
You can't even fly out of it.
That'd be interesting. All right. So I know Bentley and I were running a duo of Arthas Leoric, and that was a lot of fun, and I felt like it was incredibly effective because we were both tanky enough to substitute for a real tank while also providing enough damage to make up for not having a true damage dealer. So it's like our two champions combined kind of filled in enough damage to replace an assassin, as well as filled in enough damage taking to replace a true tank. Who do you think pairs really well with Leoric?
That's tough. I don't know. Rhaegar, I guess I would say, but that's because he pairs with every tank really well.
Yeah, with his burst heal.
But, Leoric has that ability to get right into the middle of the fight, which synergizes with Lightning Shield. I don't know. Who do you have in mind?
Really, Arthas is the only thing I can think about right now. I'd like to try him with a Muradin, see how that goes, because Muradin goes really well in any two warrior comp. And same goes with a Nubrak, so I wonder if those two would pair well together.
What support would be best for him?
I agree with you on Rhaegar.
Malfurion?
Well, no. The reason being is because Leoric is great at sustaining from damage. If he's taking a wide amount of damage, he does a wonderful job of staying alive because his W helps him stay alive. Where he suffers is from burst damage. And what's Malfurion's biggest bane is burst damage, because all of his heals are essentially heals over time. His Q does an initial little burst of damage, but then the majority of the healing comes from a heal over time. And Tranquility is just like, 1,000 cup jug, whatever, Lili's ult is, where it takes a channeled time in order to get the true effectiveness of a heal. Whereas with Rhaegar is all about burst healing, especially with ancestral healing. That takes you from essentially 0 to 100, no problem at all. So that's why I see that good there. Brightwing I could see being good with him just because Brightwing's a great healer. Other than that, I mean, you could go niche with Tyrande or Tassadar, but they're not true supports anymore. I would say
Malfurion over either of those, just because his AoE route would synergize well
with the Walk of the Skeleton. No, March of the Skeleton.
Yeah, or
King.
Either of his ultimates.
I mean, I think in that case, then you do need a true tank to help soak up the damage, because there's no way Leoric would be able to do that on his own.
It depends who you're against.
But
as long as there's no Nova.
Well, yeah, anyone who can do a lot of bursts. I mean, to me, Malfurion goes great in a double tank comp because of his heals over time and because he gives an innervate. Tanks, warriors in general, their issue is the fact that they spend mana like a 50-cent whore. It's crazy. They go nuts and they drop their mana so fast. And so being able to provide that innervate is incredibly good in a 2-tank comp. I don't think Malfurion is the greatest support to have, though, if you only have one tank and a non-mana intensive team. That's just my opinion. I know we could disagree about it all day, though. Assassin-wise, pair well. Let's double up on Assassin and Specialist. Anyone with Burst and AoE Burst, because if he lands good in Tomb, they're dead. What I'm thinking specifically is like a Nova Precision Strike, even though we all know I dislike Nova. A good Precision Strike could go well with Entomb.
You have no justification for disliking Nova.
Yes, I do.
None.
Because every single Nova I've ever played with the exception of you sometimes, sucks.
Everybody write to Billy about why he's terrible and closed-minded, because Nova's amazing, and he just doesn't like to be patient.
It's true. I don't. Alright, so let's move on from Leoric. Let's talk about the Zeratul glitch.
Ooh, that was so weird.
Yeah. If this is something you haven't heard about yet, I'm sure you can Google it. I can't remember what team was running it, but I believe it was a Korean team that ran it. Or a Chinese team. It was one of those Asian teams.
Can I just say, they had to have discovered it by accident.
It's totally one of those things by accident. So what it is there's like a bunch of settings you have to do to set it up. There's a bunch of different talents you have to do to set it up. Specifically, the talent being of the his other ultimate. I can never remember the name of it. It's not the Void Prison one, though. It's the other one that dashes him during attacks.
Void Assault?
It might be Void Assault. That sounds about right. But essentially what happens is he can be about half a map away, or, one lane away, from a team fight going on, and through a combination of effects, he can activate his ultimate and dash essentially from the lane he's in, say mid lane, and dash all the way to bot lane and be able to get into that fight right away.
The reason I think it's a glitch and not a feature of Zeratul...
It's 100% a glitch.
Oh, yeah. Well, you were telling me earlier that you thought maybe it was, it was intended use.
There are other things that I would argue that you said were glitches that were intended use. This, by far and away, is a glitch.
I don't remember which we were talking about. But
Brightwing's double heal and things like that.
That was a glitch. They fixed it.
Right. But I could see that being substituted in, too. But
yeah,
go ahead. So, like you were saying.
The reason that I think it is for sure a glitch is if you pull up the video, which we'll put it in the comments below, exactly where to find it. You notice he doesn't go straight down the map.
No.
Like things that are planned do.
Like Ethereal Judgment.
When Falstad flies.
Where Falstad
they go straight across the map. He kind of freaks out on the map for a second and then appears there.
Absolutely. And, I mean, it's quite clearly a glitch. Where I would argue where it's not that big of a deal is because it's not a game-breaking glitch. Sure, it's beneficial to be able to have one of your champions and another lane while you guys are starting a team fight and have them suddenly fly down there, but you get that out of some other champions, and it's not like his ultimate was dealing a whole bunch of damage or, making the game impossible to win, like back in the day where you could make Asmoden's minions with his demonic whatever, that one ultimate where it drops a whole bunch of demons. You could, through a combination of effects, essentially make them invulnerable, unkillable the whole game, and they just push down the core and win.
What?
I'm surprised you've never heard of this. It was very early on in the beta, but essentially you can make them invulnerable. There was no way to kill them, and they would just win the game.
Do you remember what I told you right when we started playing, who I told you the most overpowered champion in the whole game was?
Stitches.
No, well, Stitches was, because he was broken. But Asmodan,
yeah.
I was like, dude, he's so crazy.
It's true.
You ignore him for 5 minutes, you lose the game.
Right. Well, and of course there was that other game-breaking thing that we talked about a few weeks back with Lily, where she could essentially make it so that nobody would die.
And the thing is that was kind of a logical build. What we're talking about is the lightning dragon.
Where it would heal on bounced attacks.
Where you max out only your W.
Uh-huh.
And each bounced attack was healing the same amount as the first one.
Right.
So it was like 75 times. And then it happens every second.
Yeah, it was huge.
It was crazy.
And
tanks wouldn't go down.
Right. Well, tanks wouldn't go down. Assassins wouldn't go down, which is the really big thing. Just things like that. Those are game-breaking things. I don't see this Zeratul bug or a glitch to be a game breaker. It needs to be changed. But let's lead this into a discussion, and I want to get your opinion on it. If there is a glitch that is found, and it's unknown by the community at large, like this glitch was, the Zeratul was, and then a pro team busted out in the middle of a tournament and used it to help them win a game, should that team forfeit the win, or should the tournament, it's like, what should happen? Should the tournament people be like, okay, no more using this glitch? Or should the tournament people just let the glitch run? Should teams be ethically bound and not use glitches to win games? What are your thoughts?
That's a really tough area. And it has to do with even more than just pro play. Think about ranked. It's the same in ranked. Specifically, going back to like alpha, beta, right in the beginning of, what started as ranked play, you used only the people who were broken at that time.
Yeah.
If you wanted to get to rank 1. So you see a lot of higher ranked people in the top 10 ranks with a lot of stitches and a lot of just the overpowered people who, if you don't know, Stitches, what was it? What was his ability? His gas that he drops on the ground,
that's his passive.
Used to be
his
doubled
trait.
in size, and his W used to stun for 1.5 seconds.
Right.
It was crazy.
Okay, but I'm going to limit you strictly to competitive play, because sure, it's not cool to play against somebody who's broken in a Hero League, but really the only thing that's on the line in Hero League is your own personal gain through rank.
And that doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I'm talking about competitive play with money on the line and real-world impact.
I think that they win because they used a unique strategy. They were within the boundaries of the game.
But
nowhere in the game did they say they couldn't use the game as it was written.
But let's say like the tournament directors or whatever, what should their approach be? Because personally, I think it's okay to abuse a glitch if it's not widely known. If you know about it, go in there, abuse the glitch, because you're there to win. I think if a tournament person comes in and says, okay, congratulations, you found a glitch, we'll let you keep that game, but don't do it again or you forfeit a game. I think that's the right approach.
That's the correct approach. And it's the correct approach because then right after that, they're going to go fix it.
Well, but I mean, I'm talking like, third-party tournaments, ones run by like ESL, run by, third-party people who have no control over the game.
Right. That's what I mean too. Even just after that game, Blizzard's gonna fix it. They've got eyes and ears on their own competitions.
Yeah, after like the tournament and whatnot, they'll get it fixed.
They'll get around to it. I think that that's fair. Telling them, hey, that's a glitch. We've decided that it is a glitch. We brought the developers in, and they said that's not working as intended. You do win this game because you discovered this glitch.
Right. But I think it's okay for a tournament person to say, no more using it this tournament, or we will make you forfeit the game. I believe that's perfectly. I think that's the right response, because while even a game-breaking glitch, the first time it comes out, it's impressive, it's fun to watch, and you're like, holy crap, did that really just happen? That's okay to me. I don't think it's okay to keep abusing it, because then it just ruins the rest of the games, because that's all people are going to want to do is play that glitch. They're not going to, do anything else.
And it ruins the ranking system. For those people who care about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more concerned about, what's going to be happening in competitive play with this, because, yeah, sure, you should be nice and don't play it in ranked, but really, in the end, there's nobody who has control over that except for Blizzard. But we could, talk about till we're blue in the face about that. Let's talk about, though, the more fun fact. We got the first EU qualifiers for the regional championship coming up this weekend. It starts this Saturday, at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, so that's, 8 a.m. for you people in the Pacific. That's 6 a.m. for you people in the mountains. And then, oh my God, why are you awake in the Pacific? It should be a good tournament, though. My understanding, and in the limited time I've been able to watch EU, is that there's one team over there that just dominates clearly, and there's no way anybody's going to beat them. This is like Tempo Storm on
talking
steroids.
Team Liquid?
I'm talking Team Liquid. They've rolled every single little bit of conversation that they've had, or competition, I should say, competition that they've had easily.
As well they should, with how early they started. And the presence that Heroes has had with the EU servers,
right? And I mean, I agree, but they're also rolling over. If I can talk even straight, they're rolling over other teams that have been around just as long. It just so happens that they're the best team in EU. So my question is to you, Aaron: do you think that they are an actual good team that's beating good competition? Or is it that the other competition in EU is just so bad that they're making Team Liquid look good?
I think that they are good, period. I definitely see where you're coming from. There are server and realm specific talent. But I think that really top level talent play on multiple servers. And they play pre-made games against pre-made teams, and they do custom scrims. I think that they are pouring just as much effort and time as the American teams are. Now, the point that you're going to come back with is there's more competition in the America with higher level play. And I don't necessarily think that's true, but it seems to be what the statistics are pointing to.
Well, what I would say, I think the second Team Liquid steps out of Europe, I think they're going to get smashed by the top teams in the other regions. Tempo Storm, I would argue, is the best team in the world right now. Their gameplay and mechanics are on point.
Can we pause for just a second and say, oh my God, Tempo Storm, can you please stop taking everyone's money?
Yeah, no joke.
They not only did they take the June, they took the money from the July Open.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a second once we start covering the July Open, but to me, it'll interest me because in a few weeks from now, we're going to see the first international tournament that we have seen in Heroes of the Storm since the very opening of beta, and it'll give us a chance to see how the top teams from every region are going to compete against each other and how the metas will work. Because I think NA is like the only place that runs Double Warrior. China still runs Lili as a top tier support. It's things like that. That are going to be huge and be able to see, it's like, how good is Tempo Storm really? Is Team Liquid really a good team, or are they just against poor competition? So it'll be fun to see what's going on there. Now, let's talk about the July Open.
Tempo Storm
won it all. Easy peasy. They dropped no games at all.
$8,500.
Yeah, they won $8,500 for it. That does bring me to something, though, I did forget to bring up. The prize pool in this July Open was $100,000. So I meant $100,000 split up between the teams, people getting X amount of cash here and there.
You mean the Opens?
The Open, yeah. And no, $100,000 was split up in the teams in this particular Open. It was $100,000.
Okay.
The EU prize pool, though, is $300,000. What do you attribute to being the difference? Why do they have more money than us? Or than NA, I should say.
It's coming at a later time, and the game is every day. Like, I think that...
It's only coming a week later, though.
Well, didn't we say, like, last week, it was, like, 2 weeks ago, it was, like, 14th on Twitch, and then next week it was 4th most watched on Twitch?
Yeah, because of the Opens and whatnot.
The game is gaining a lot of notoriety.
It is, but this is only a week difference in tournaments.
I think it has to do exactly with what I was just saying. Heroes was a way bigger presence and has always been in Europe than America.
That's true. And yeah, so that could be very well reflected here. So that's kind of a fun fact. If you're in Europe listening to our podcast, one, thank you. And two, go get in one of their Opens because you can make a lot more money than we're going to make in the August Open. All right. So let's talk about some things really quick. First off, the thing I want to talk about is these new teams that emerged in the July Open. I'm thinking specifically Goon Squad, Pool Play-Doh, and Cognitive Gaming. Cognitive, of course, being the biggest name of those three, with taking third place. And the past few months, if you guys have not been following Professional Heroes of the Storm, you see the top three teams were typically Complexity in third place, Cloud9 Maelstrom in second, and Tempo Storm in first. And this was such a surprise to see Cognitive Gaming come in with a relatively new team that they just formed for this Open and win it against Complexity, who has been giants in this game since the start.
That's what everybody was wanting to see.
And that's exactly what I wanted to see too. One, because, you know, I'm a huge Cloud9 fan carrying over from League of Legends, and also I'm a Tempo Storm fan carrying over from League of Legends because of Zuna. So I was happy to see Complexity be the one of the top three teams replaced. And it was fun to see the new blood of Cognitive coming in and just, you know, pulling out these insane picks. They just changed it up so much, like compared to what we had been seeing. So it was nice. It was calming. In order to win games, they went with more standard picks, but against teams they thought they could beat, they would go against the meta kind of and bust out what they wanted to play, and that was a lot of fun.
How insulting is it gonna be when they see, oh, it's the Podcast Heroes team. Let's go Abathur, Murky, Lily, Brightwing, and Lost Vikings and see if we can beat them.
Yeah, and then when they do, we'll just go home and cry.
We'll cry.
But no, it was really great to see new blood brought in. One of the issues I've had with like pro MOBA leagues previously has been the fact that they've been really limited in the teams that were showing up in them. Sure, you know, like Challenger series and that kind of stuff would show, you know, new blood, new players, something fun, but then they would never make it far, leaving it to, you know, old teams, old blood, you know, Counter Logic Gaming, Team Liquid, or, you know, who used to be Curse. See a lot of Dignitas, you know, in these kind of tournaments, and that kind of stuff. And it's really fun to see like Goon Squad or Pool Play-Doh. You know, it's like these teams you'd never even heard of, or companies you've never even heard of, just showing up and being like, hey, you know, we're here to compete, we're here to play, and then they do good.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you mentioned, you know, the teams that it used to be the Curse team,
right?
Because, you know, even just back in my you know, days of playing MMORPGs, when we, you know, had a guild on Terra for a couple years, I did that, and we were sponsored. It is so difficult to keep gaming sponsors.
Yeah.
And it's even difficult in the pro scene.
Yeah, and you have to be good, you have to show up, and you have to be consistent. You have to be a presence there because they want their brand out there, and if you're not competing and if you're not being good, they're going to drop you.
Well, that, and you have to be in constant communication with them.
Yeah.
Hey, we completed that tournament. Are you still our sponsor? Because for us, it kind of worked out, like, after we completed this one fundraising event that we did in Terra, they pretty much were like, oh, no, we're done now. I was like, oh, so you're not sponsoring the rest of it?
Well, fun. But this is something else that I want to talk about. What I love about these July Opens is, like, even for the teams that can't break the top four, you know, that are still top 8 teams but can't break the top 4, this is really an opportunity for new talent to enter the scene, too. Because players on these top, you know, the bottom 4 teams out of the top 8 are now recognized by, you know, the big names, by Tempo, by Cloud9, and by, you know, Cognitive, by Complexity. And they're like, hey, we need a good flex player, because our flex player, you know, he's either unreliable, he's not good enough, you know, whatever, but you could replace him. Come join our team. And so it really opens an avenue for people. Sure, maybe their team won't last after an Open is over, but it gives them the way to break into the esports scene and bring in new blood.
It's interesting. Probably some of the very top talent in Heroes of the Storm is sitting behind their computer listening to this podcast.
Well, and then us.
Yeah, well, obviously us. But you know what I mean? They're completely undiscovered. They don't even know that they're that good because there's such a divide between pro play and common person play.
Yeah.
But talent-wise, it's hard to know, you know, if you're super good unless you're consistently playing with the same people.
Yeah, and so, I mean, get out there, stay positive, have fun, and hopefully you'll get noticed one day.
Let's
that's our plan.
Talk about the free week.
Let's talk about free week.
Okay. For free week, we have Uther, Kerrigan, Murden, Raynor, Jaina, Arthas, and Zebo. which is really cool. If you haven't tried Uther, he is a really flexible support that's super fun to try.
He's top 3 right now.
You think so?
With the Brightwing changes, absolutely.
Well, is Brightwing still in your top 3?
No.
I don't think so either.
And of course, it's like it depends on what you need out of a support, but Uther is a really good one. So what's your 5 here?
I would go Kerrigan and Jaina and Arthas just because they synergize so well together. And then just because I'm a horrible person, I would go Uther and Nazebo because that means everyone is going to be stunning you.
That's true.
And then we're going to put a circle around you and you're going to be stuck. And then Uther's going to come down with a hammer and then another giant stun.
For me, my team would have to be Muradin, Uther, Kerrigan, Jaina, and Arthas.
That's the exact same team.
Yeah. No, you had Nazeebu and you did not have one of them. You didn't have Muradin.
That's right.
I went with double tank here. One, because, I'm a huge double tank fan.
You're right. I didn't pick Muradin.
You went with Nazeebu.
But you have a hard on for Muradin, though.
I love Muradin. But I just think that would be a better team because, Arthas Jaina, like you said, synergize incredibly well together. Kerrigan is easily a top 3 melee assassin, if not top 2.
And when synergizing with you said Kerrigan, when synergizing with Jaina, super strong.
Yeah, because it's easy to catch people, easy to get them into your stun. It's nice. Uther being the only support on the table, you gotta take him. And Muradin's just amazing. He can be played as an assassin killer, and he can also just be played as a frontline tank. So that's a lot of fun.
That's another hit or miss, though. I see a lot of bad Muradins thinking, oh, I have a lot of health, so I can just go to their back line and then run away, and then they die.
Yeah. Well, can't
but when
all
you,
be as
when,
perfect as me.
When you play it, you do pretty well.
Thank you. All right. So let's go to our next favorite segment.
Hey, watch us climb.
No, the other one.
Ooh, map stats.
Map stats. This week we're breaking down Blackheart's Bay. It's one of Aaron's favorite maps, as I remember, and one of my least favorite maps.
You may remember me talking.
Hate people.
Yeah, you do hate people. You may remember me talking about it when I did my Sylvanas build, which was called "Screw Everyone and Get Coins."
Yeah, exactly.
Which is essentially my strategy on Blackheart's Bay.
And it should be everyone's strategy on Blackheart's Bay, and unfortunately, that's just not true for most people. All right, I'll give the real quick stats for it, and then I'll let Aaron talk a little bit about strategy and this map. The first thing is, at 50 seconds into the game, the chests spawn in middle and bottom lane. Each chest gives you 5 coins. That means if your team controls both chests, you get 10 coins, and you can instantly buy Blackheart the second he shows up. Let me repeat that again. 50 seconds... 10 coins in chest, middle and bot lane. Be ready.
So, what does that mean for your team strategy? It means you probably shouldn't be sending 3 people top at the beginning of the game because
I hate seeing that.
I hate it too. I don't know what people are thinking. Really, no one should go top. Maybe one of the Lost Vikings?
Yeah, well, it's certainly not at the beginning
or,
of the game.
Or a Brightwing or a Falstad. Someone who can get to the chest at 50 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Or at 40 seconds, it's time to start heading over. And if you're not, you're doing something wrong.
You're doing something wrong. Each camp gives 2 coins. That's why Aaron was saying screw everyone and just get coins, because you want to go to the camps and kill those camps and get those coins as much as possible.
If you're the person walking by a doubloon camp thinking, oh, that's a doubloon camp, they don't even turn into mercs, like, why would I want to get that? Because it takes 3 seconds and you get 2 doubloons.
2 doubloons. It's perfect. And a regen orb if you took any talents surrounding that. Blackheart spawns himself at 1:15. So that means, 25 seconds after the chest spawn, you get Blackheart spawning. So be quick on those chests and then go and turn in.
And then they increase by 2 coins required per barrage.
Right. Initially, it's 10 coins, and then you need 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22.
And no, up till 20.
It doesn't go past 20. I thought it went up to 22.
I don't think it passes 20.
It might not.
It very well might. I'll look in the description for the answer to that.
Yeah, we'll post that for sure. But one of the key things that people seem to forget about a lot here is that you can actually hit tab and look at the score screen there, and you get to see not only how many coins your team has, but how many coins the enemy team has. So if you're sitting down there and they have, 6 coins and they need 4 more to turn in, and you're like, I wonder if they have enough. I better go camp it. It's like, well, no. Hit tab, see if they even have enough, and then worry about camping it. So that's, something you can use to really make a difference in this game.
That, and even like a step back from that, I see so many people completely oblivious to the fact that there's another team trying to collect coins.
And turn in coins.
Because defending that point can be a huge game changer.
It can be, if done at the right times. You don't want to sit there and camp. I was actually playing a Blackheart's Bay game. I don't think you were in it at all, but the enemy team had a Nova, so my favorite champion in the game. And all that Nova did was sit on the doubloon camp and camp it. And you know what we did? We all showed up as 5, killed her, turned in, and got the barrage. It was easy. It's like, oh, hey, it's like after my second time of visiting there and Nova attacking me, I'm like, hey guys, she's just camping. Let's get her.
I think I was there, and it's worth noting that Bentley was playing Leoric, and he was in ghost form and used his Q on where he knew Nova was, and it still revealed her.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's always, really fun and a thing to keep an eye out for. So don't sit on the turn in. Always, roam around a little bit, then go check. Or play a Zagara. Play somebody who can give you vision there. Any of those supports with a drone of some kind.
So keeping soak is important on this map. But you need to, at almost all times, have at least one person get in camps. Well, that's why it's great to take a Gazlo, a Sylvanas, somebody who can do it on their own.
Right. This is literally a pay-to-win map. And on this map, as a warrior player, I like playing things like Arthas, like Tyrael, and like Stitches, because they can clear out camps incredibly fast for the fact that they're a warrior, and then they can go and turn in. So it's like you can leave your assassins to play in the lanes and try to kill the enemy team while you're getting things turned in.
Sylvanas is great at that, too. Go to the top chest, use your wave across the ocean, and then immediately you're at the chest.
Right. There you go. All right, so who are your 5 favorite champions to play? What's your dream team of 5 on this map?
Ooh. I didn't prepare a dream team. So I'll just say a couple that I definitely think are really important. Falstad, I think that his mobility is really strong. Particularly the ability to have a bunch of coins and be at the turn-in when no one else is. Mm-hmm. Because you can just fly there instantly.
Right.
Sylvanas, because nobody takes camps like Sylvanas.
Okay.
Nobody.
So you got an assassin and a specialist there.
I would probably go with the Stitches out of what you said, just because I really like the Vile Gas.
Okay.
On the ground. I think it clears camps really quick. And if you're smart, you can be hitting all 4 of a bruiser camp at once.
Right, you just rotate it around. All right, so that's 3. Who's your support, and do you go with another assassin, another specialist, or another warrior?
I think you're safe going for either another warrior or another assassin.
And who would you pick? Gun to head right now, who would you pick?
I would say Arthas because he's on my mind.
Okay.
And I think he's strong in this particular map, though he is a little bit mana dependent. So I'll pick Malfurion.
All right, as your support. My top 5 would be somewhat similar, but not quite. I think you can ignore Specialist on this map. I wouldn't play one personally, and I know that breaks your heart because your favorite thing to do in this game is play Specialist.
That's not true.
Okay, it's to play Sylvanas.
Play Nova.
My other favorite champion. No, so I really like playing Stitches on this map. I think with all the fog of war that is in this map, being able to do a good fishing hook grab where you can just pull someone halfway across the map almost, it seems, and bring them to your team is incredibly strong. One thing we didn't mention about Blackheart's Bay is it's unique in that if you kill an enemy champion with coins, they drop all of their coins and you can pick them up. So Stitches is great for making picks here. I would have to go with Jaina, easily, and then a Kerrigan. So there's 3. My support would probably be, I don't know. I mean, maybe an Uther, maybe a Rhaegar, somebody with really good heals, burst healing. And then I would have to go with like a Muradin here as my other tank, because Muradin really does offer that ability to just pop into Avatar and jump on top of the coin turn-in and then sit there beating everybody off until your team can, get in there and secure things. And yes, I did mean it like that.
Rhaegar for your support.
Yes.
Because you can take the invisible for 2 seconds when you enter ghost form.
Uh-huh.
And you can use that 2 seconds to get into that little nook right by the turn-in.
Right.
Without being seen, but you do know if anyone's there.
Okay.
And so you sneak in there, wait, if there's somebody there, wait 5 seconds, and then sneak out and turn in.
Okay. All right, I like it. So play Rhaegar. That's our opinions on Blackheart's Bay. Really, it is all about focusing down camps. This really is literally a pay-to-win map, because that's all you need to do.
When the enemy team has 10 coins, though, it all changes, because you have the option of collecting the coins that are on the map or hunting down the enemy team for their coins.
And harvesting their coins. It's true. All right, so let's talk about everybody's favorite segment of Watch Us Climb. As we told you heartbreakingly earlier, I had a really rough week in ranked where I dropped essentially 5 ranks from 18th to 23rd. It was terrible. I think I've won 3 games in the past 5 days.
You have this problem where you don't stop playing on a bad night.
I really should, and I don't do that.
Sometimes I tell you, like, man, it's a cursed night. We shouldn't be playing. So if you're on tilt, or if you have a few bad games, take a break, take a breather, and get a fresh mind on it.
Yeah, and it's a good point.
Okay, so we were on Haunted Mines.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm sorry. And if you guys have any really good tips, tricks for anybody out there, me included, of what you do to break a curse like that, go ahead and write us at niceguysnetwork@gmail.com. You can Twitter us at @podcast_heroes. Hit up our Facebook page. Hit up our soon-to-be website. Shout out to both Zach Unmasked Christopher, and who's the other guy? Justin Dame Slayer Probes. They've both been fantastic at helping provide us with an up and coming website so
and
far.
Bentley has been working on the some of the artwork.
Yeah, we got some artwork coming in.
All right, so we were in the Haunted Mines.
We were.
I'll list off this team. Sylvanas. Was I playing? I was playing Sylv.
I believe you were.
You were on Arthas.
Hell yeah.
We had a Malfurion, a Butcher, and an ETC. That is a pretty beefy team.
That's a pretty beefy
And it has
team.
a Malfurion on it.
Yeah.
We were against Jaina, Uther, Diablo, Illidan, Vala. What do you remember?
I remember us stomping the living daylights out of them. That's
we
what I remember.
We won majority on every single golem.
Including the last couple where we got 100% of the skulls. And that was awesome.
And I think that a big portion of it was, at one point, it was just me down there getting skulls.
Yeah.
And that's how it always ends up. It's Sylvanas alone in the mines. Thank goodness, because Sylvanas can travel around those mines so fast.
And her Q just melts those camps really quickly. It's wonderful. A lot of the reason why I think we won this game is because of the off-meta picks the other team had. Diablo will always have a special place in my heart, but he's not nearly as strong as he used to be, especially when you could be picking something like a Muradin, a Nubrak, or whatever. It really did kind of weird me out that our tank was ETC, which is so out of the meta now. But we were able to balance that out with a good Arthas and a good Butcher. And then they also picked Illidan, who's really not that good anymore. Ever since they made it so that his one ability, his dash around, does not make him unstoppable, it's really nerfed him. And we were able to put that Illidan in his place.
Not just that, but unstoppable and unhittable.
And unhittable, yeah, they've changed that. So, sure, they had the Jaina, they had the Uther, who are top tiers in their respective categories, and Vala, who will always be good. But I think our ability to pick better champions here is really what won us the game. And
more appropriate, certainly, champions.
Good at this map.
For the map that we were playing.
Right.
Which is small, early level map.
Right.
With some good mobility, which we had Sylvanas for. And then with the tankiness and the Malfurion, we had good synergy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Arthas, ETC, and Sylvanas can clear camps really fast. I'm sure Butcher can do it too with his attack speed. Malfurion, I mean, if he takes Moonburn level 1, increasing his what's it called, Moonfire ability by 100% on minions, that really helps him clear out camps too. So we were able to get in there. Each of us could stand at an individual camp, clear it out in no time, and then meet the enemy team and kill them. So that was really good. Of course, I've talked about where I've ended up in ranks. Where are you at?
I don't remember where I started. 23 or something.
Okay.
And I'm at 21 now. But just like you, it's been up and down. But I've been steadily climbing, just really slowly.
Hey, slowly but surely. Sometimes that's all you need.
And Bentley's still down there in 30s.
Yeah, he's kind of a slacker, isn't he?
He's a slacker.
Get it together, Bentley. We're shouting out to you right now.
He won't listen.
He won't listen. I think that's it for us. Week 13 of our podcast. So I don't think there's anything special to mention. Just be sure to hit up our email, niceguysnetwork@gmail.com. Hit up our Twitter @podcast_heroes. Soon to come website. Facebook page is still up and running. Look for its link. Is there anything else? SoundCloud. I mean, you're probably listening to us on SoundCloud, listening to us on YouTube, listening to us on iTunes.
Just this. Thanks for listening to Podcast Heroes, where we podcast about heroes.